Good evening, you're tuned into Bizworld. Mobile network operators, MNOs, will get to decide whether to participate in Entity A or B in rolling out 5G services under the dual wholesale network. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil, however, said the process will subject to the government's approval.
At the same time, the MNOs will assess and they will revert back to the government as to who will be in which entity. We leave it to industry to decide among themselves, but government at the end of the day, Cabinet has made a decision that the process will be not only guided but conditioned upon government approval.
He said this after witnessing a memorandum of understanding between Telekom Malaysia and ZTE Malaysia Corporation to collaborate on a range of research and development innovations. The government, via its 5G task force, is having regular engagements to accelerate 5G rollout, as well as on the equity stake in Digital Nasional Berhad (DNB). Regarding the Celcom Digi and TM's DNB stake withdrawal, Fahmi emphasized that the move was in relation to shift to dual wholesale network next year. The collective wealth of tycoons on the 2023 Forbes list of Malaysia's 50 richest tycoons edged up to $81.6 billion from $80.5 billion last year, despite a dip in the stock market. After rising 8.7% in 2022 on the back of a rebound in domestic consumer spending, Forbes said Malaysia's economy is expected to grow at a more moderate pace this year. They added, despite the country's post-pandemic revival, the stock market fell 8% since fortunes were last measured, and the ringgit was also down nearly 2%. Tan Sri Robert Kwok, who will be a centenarian in October, is Malaysia's richest person, a position he has held for more than a quarter of a century. According to Forbes, Tan Sri Kwok, the biggest gainer in dollar terms this year, is one of only two persons on the list with a double-digit fortune of $11.8 billion. Holding the number 2 position is Tan Sri Kwek Leng Chan, executive chairman of Hong Leong Group, while metals magnate Tan Sri Kun Po Kyong and his siblings, with all of their wealth combined, remain in third place. Taking the 4th spot is Tan Sri Ananda Krishnan of Maxis. Among the big gainers on this year's list are father and son duo Datuk Sri Yao Tek Seng and Datuk Sri Yao Chi Ming, who controlled timber giant Samling. S&P Global Market Intelligence expects business conditions for Malaysia's manufacturing sector to remain challenging due to subdued demand. The seasonally adjusted S&P Global Malaysia Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, declined to 47.8 in May from 48.8 in April, signaling further challenges for firms in the manufacturing sector. Both output and new orders moderated to a greater extent in April, while firms scaled back employment for the first time in 5 months. Purchasing activity also softened, and this weakness in demand for inputs fed through to improvements in supply chains and relatively muted inflationary pressures. The subdued demand environment was not limited to the domestic market, with new export orders also softening. The overall outlook, however, remains positive amid hopes that the demand environment would recover in the year ahead. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a deal negotiated by President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to raise the United States debt ceiling ahead of a default deadline on June 5th. The Senate, however, must first vote on the bill later this week before Biden can sign it into law. House lawmakers passed the legislation dubbed the Fiscal Responsibility Act in a vote of 314 to 117. The deal would raise the U.S. debt ceiling for 2 years in exchange for limited fiscal reforms, such as reclaiming unspent COVID recovery funds and rescinding some Internal Revenue Service funding. That's all the time we have for Bizworld this time around. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for investing your time with us.